So Sam, tell me, what else do you think would be a good idea for somebody who's looking to grow their trading account? Something simple that they can implement, maybe starting today even.
I would have to go back to your preferred trade strategy, which was the put credit spreads.
This is the How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast, brought to you by 10MinuteStockTrader.com, where we cover finance, stocks, options, entrepreneurship, education, and money. And here's your host, voted one of the top 100 people in finance, Christopher Uhl. Why trade alone when you can access over 100 years of trading experience right at your fingertips? Simple strategies, proven tools, real-time alerts, and an interactive trading community await. Keep it simpler with Simpler Trading by visiting their website at simplertrading.com and check it out with a $7 trial today. That's at simplertrading.com. Hey, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified every time we give you more tools, tips, and tricks to help you trade faster and trade smarter every single week.
Hey there, traders. Welcome to another edition of the How to Trade Stocks Options podcast. Today, I have a special guest on the line, Sam Shames. He's the Director of Equities at Simpler Trading. And Sam, this is a real treat. This is the first time I've got to talk to you. I've talked to you about 3/4 of your cohorts there over at Simpler Trading, but never had a chance to talk to you. So if you don't mind, could you give our audience a little bit of background on who you are? And then we'll jump into today's episode on some money-saving hacks for your trading and investment portfolio.
Nice. Thanks, Chris. Good to be here. My name is Sam Shames. I've been with Simpler Trading for about 3 years. I am the Director of Equities there. I've been trading for a little bit over a decade. Started trading in 2006 and joined the Simpler team in 2017. Moved my way up the ranks a little bit, and now I'm the Director of Equities there. So I primarily will trade options with a focus on options, but also with stocks and futures.
Being that you're the Director of Equities, does that change your role way as far as like trading?
No, not really. I still primarily will trade my own account. I still focus on options. It's just maybe carries a little bit more cachet, I suppose, in terms of my opinion inside the company. But aside from that, my trading style remains the same.
Oh, okay. The reason I ask is because, I'm sure you, like I do, I balance several portfolios, and I've got a equities only long stock type portfolio, and then I've got an option trading income type portfolio. So I wasn't sure if that meant you only went on the stock side, or if you balance the two, because you were talking about you still trade options there. I know that's a big deal over at Simpler Trading, is trading options.
Yeah, it's there's so many different strategies that are available to you that once you start trading options, it's pretty tough to do anything else, because you want to go long, you got it. You want leverage, you got it. You want it to trade sideways, which is something you really can't do with futures or stock. You can do that with options as well. So it opens up a whole new world for sure.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. So my favorite strategy is, I go so simple. I keep it as simple as possible. It's just a put spread or a call spread. That's my go-to 95% of the time. What does Sam trade?
I like it as well. Yeah, put credit spreads are awesome. They allow you to make a directional bet, which is what you would be doing if you had stock, long or short. But then the fact that you're doing it as a put credit spread actually will bring you in income if nothing happens, right? So if you buy a stock, for example, and it goes sideways the entire time that you own it, well, you're just frustrated. Versus if you were to do a put credit spread, well, that type of trade tends to be time positive, so you can actually take in income as it does absolutely nothing, or if it starts to go in your favor, you start to make even more. I really like that strategy, and I think it's a great one for beginners.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Beginners, or honestly all the way up to professionals will.
Yeah, and like I said, that's my go-to. And I describe it as like a football analogy, right? So if you're buying stock, it's like you are a quarterback under center. The only way you're going to advance the ball forward is if you move the ball forward. There's no other opportunity there, right? But with a put credit spread, something like that, it's like if you're under shotgun. You've got a 5-yard buffer between you and the offensive line. So you've got this margin of error that you can play with. And man, that's totally like, if they could rename the put credit spread something like that to be like margin of error trading, that certainly just fits for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. House edge trading also, right? Because if you think about it, most options expire worthless.
Mhm.
So if you're doing put credit spreads, you're putting yourself as the seller of those options. So you're putting yourself on the house side of things. It's like going into a casino, just to build off your analogy, going into a casino, and instead of playing on the player side of the table, you play on the house side of the table. It just puts the odds in your favor.
Yeah, and that's the reason I like it so much. It's just so much easier to manage a trade like that than to be sitting there watching, if a stock is going up or down or whatever. So anyway, to get into today's episode, we wanted to talk about some money-saving hacks that you and the audience out there could use to build more into your account and hopefully have more to trade and invest with. Now, the term of trader or investor, I mean, you can't be a trader or investor without having money. I was talking to Dan Fitzpatrick. He's the stock market mentor. That's his whole deal. And he was talking one day, and he's like, "Listen, if you don't have money to trade with, you aren't a trader. You are an observer. You can talk all these things, but if you're not actually making trades with real money, it's not real." Right. So that's where my mind was today, is let's find several different ways that we could potentially give you guys out there some more money to trade with. Now, the first thing that I thought of, and I was discussing this with Sam ahead of time, is something that I actually do every single day. Totally am a proponent of it, and that is skipping breakfast. Now, I know you're like, why in the world are we talking about skipping breakfast on the How to Trade Stocks and Options podcast, right? Think about it, right? First off, you get health benefits, right? It's called intermittent fasting. I've been doing it for, I don't know how long. And it's really easy to skip breakfast because your body's already in a fasted state. And you think about it in a monetary sense, right? If you're skipping Starbucks, I know every time my wife goes there, it's $5.70 for her white chocolate mocha with non-fat milk and no whipped cream. So, I mean, $5 a day, in a week, that's $35. That's almost enough to put on a put credit spread right there just in 1 week on a $1 wide put credit spread.
Yep.
So, I mean, it sounds so absurd, right? Skipping breakfast, investing or whatever, but it could absolutely add up. What do you think about that, Sam?
I think it's a good idea. I also like the fact that you tied it into intermittent fasting. It's not something that I would have considered, but there is a lot of health benefits to that. So not only would you be saving a couple bucks, which adds up, if you do it consistently throughout the month, but then you're getting the health kick as well, which is completely a valid thing. I usually, we start trading pretty early around here. We get up, start right around 6:30 in the morning, 2 hours before the market opens. It doesn't give us a chance to eat breakfast. So we're already kind of doing that implicitly. And I can confirm it's if you eat breakfast, you tend to be a little bit slower. So there's the financial, benefits that, $5-10 a day that you'll save. But then there's also the energy and health benefits, which I think are notable.
Yeah, and I know before someone starts thinking, this is just a total waste of time. But in all honesty, you can actually set this up to be like an automatic thing. At least I use Tastyworks, and they have an option for automatic deposits into your Tastyworks account. So, I mean, you could literally do it on a daily basis. It doesn't cost anything to transfer the funds. And you could say, okay, $5 a day, it's going to come out of my checking, and it's going to go into my investing account. And just like that, your account's growing without you literally doing anything. You're not even making breakfast and you're making money. It's easy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're getting the ball rolling downhill, and then if you start trading on top of that, you just you really start to build that snowball.
Yeah, and another thing I was thinking about is like Airbnb or renting out an extra room in your apartment, or it doesn't have to be Airbnb, but like really splitting the cost of real estate, right? I know for me, like in my home, I've got an extra bedroom that is actually my studio where I'm at right now. But if this weren't a studio, it would make a perfect place for a renter or someone to come in. In fact, back when I was in college, now I'm thinking about it, my wife and I, we bought a house, and man, I tell you what, prices, over a decade ago were a lot cheaper than they were today. Our mortgage, this was the greatest thing ever. Our mortgage was $450, right?
Wow.
Now, I know, right? Crazy. It was in Arkansas, though, where I went to school, and prices there are even cheaper than they are here in Texas. But man, the first thing we did was like, okay, we're going to get a renter. That renter paid for the mortgage. So, I mean, it just makes it so much simpler, right? And she's got her own room. She's, just like a roommate or whatever. but that's just an easy way to offset the cost of your real estate, which would give you more money for your funds.
Absolutely. Yeah. And especially nowadays, prices have gone up, but interest rates have gone down considerably.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of having that type of rental property and then subsidizing it using, the strategy you just mentioned makes a lot of sense, because guess what? Once that person moves out, they've helped you pay part of the mortgage, and now you're closer to actually ownership.
Oh yeah. And it $450 a month, that can go a long way in a trading account. I mean, if you don't have more than a $5,000 trading account, for example, that's nearly a 10% gain every month,
Mm-hmm.
just sitting right there, right?
Exactly.
So look at that. We're 2 tips down, and you're already making money every day and every month.
And
Now,
you're
the one
healthier.
thing that I want to talk, yeah, exactly. Now, the one thing that I really want to talk about was like finding a cheaper broker. Like I said earlier, I use Tastyworks, and stock trades on that are free, like pretty much everybody is now these days.
Mhm.
So what were you thinking about that, Sam?
I think that's a great idea. And the good thing is nowadays you don't really have to settle, right? So the free broker conversation leads you naturally towards Robinhood. And it's a great platform, right? Especially if you're just starting out. But even if you wanted to take one step higher and go to the professional level, which is, Tastyworks or Thinkorswim, which is what we use here, they're 65 cents an execution per contract. So it's very manageable, doesn't eat away at your profits too much. And yeah, it's totally worth it because, like you said, with the breakfast thing, right? The commissions seem small, but they're so consistent that they do add up. So finding those lower cost brokers makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, back when I first started trading, this was well before the race to zero with the commissions.
Hmm.
Uh, Man, I would do like for example, an Iron Condor, and it was on E-Trade, I think, and it was like $8 to open the ticket plus another dollar per leg, and then it was the same to close it, right? So you're talking $8 plus 4 on an Iron Condor. That's just on one lot, and then another $8 plus 4 to close it. So that's $24 round trip.
Hmm.
Let's say your max profit on the trade was only like 40, 50, $80, something like that. That's a huge chunk of it
Yeah.
just to put on the trade and close it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're pretty much trading for the right to trade.
Yeah, and it's just really hard to take, 2 steps forward and 1.5 steps back just when you've got a small account, you're putting one lots on and things like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's crazy these days. So Sam, tell me, what else do you think would be a good idea for somebody who's looking to grow their trading account? Something simple that they can implement, maybe starting today even.
I would have to go back to your preferred trade strategy, which was the put credit spreads. I think a lot of people, when they start out, they're very inclined to want to do calls and puts, not fully appreciating that most options will expire worthless. So it's it's the house edge. Time decay is a real thing with options. If you buy a call and the stock either drops or starts going sideways, you're going to have decay because of the theta or the time decay. Versus if you were to do it as a put credit spread, which is the strategy you were mentioning earlier, what that does is it lowers your cost basis, right? Because you're selling a put and you're buying a put. So you win in 2 scenarios, right? You win if the stock goes up. Let's say you're bullish and you do it as a put credit spread. If the stock goes up, you win. And if the stock goes sideways, you still give yourself an opportunity to win. So you give yourself 2 out of the 3 ways. Stocks can only go up, down, or sideways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2 of those 3 you're covered. And then by doing it as a put credit spread, you've reduced your cost basis, right? So instead of just buying that call, you've bought one and you've sold one, and it makes the entire trade cheaper and, frankly, a little bit more high probability. I love that. Also, just to add one more point, would be a butterfly. So something like a call butterfly, a put butterfly. It's a very similar idea, right? It's just one additional nuance to it. But anything pretty much that would involve selling an option when you're buying an option is a great way to reduce your cost structure and increase the probability of the trade.
Are you talking like a butterfly at a certain strike? So to give the audience a little bit of background on a butterfly, essentially you make money if it hits the point that you're looking to hit. So if you've got $100 stock and you think it's going to go to 110, you can do a butterfly that peaks out its profitability at the 110 spot. But if it doesn't hit 110, maybe it's at 108, maybe it's at 112, something like that, your risk is actually really, really small. I mean, it may be 10 times or greater if it does hit your 110 versus a 108 or 107 or maybe a 112. Is that the kind of butterfly you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Just one kind of theoretical example I could give you is Amazon, right? So Amazon's pretty much a stone's throw away from 3,000. Most folks wouldn't be able to buy Amazon stock or maybe even Amazon options. It's just they're very expensive. One option's probably $15,000 right now. But if you were to execute it as, let's say, a butterfly at 3,000 on Amazon, then you're selling the 3,000 call and you're buying one underneath it, so that as it gets closer and closer to 3,000, you will make money. But as long as it hangs out at 3,000, you're actually going to take in passive income as that short call starts to decay. So it's all about putting that time on your side.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, passive income, that's a trigger word for a lot of people, but it can actually be done when you're trading stocks, and people just don't believe it until they really get their feet wet and start understanding that, wait a minute, like you're talking about earlier, a stock doesn't have to move to make money on a trade. That boggles most people's mind until they realize the power of options. Absolutely. So with that being said, trading does, can the audience more about Simpler Trading, which you guys do over there?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, let me just add one additional point there that might be a simple addition. Selling covered calls, right? So you mentioned being long stock. Let's say that you do have a predominantly long stock book. What you can do is, let's say you have 100 shares of XYZ, start selling covered calls against it. And then that way, essentially, you're a rent taker on that stock. Let's say you have a stock that's trading, 90, and you start selling the $100 calls against it. Well, if it gets to 100, it gets called away from you, and you get $100 per share. So you'd be pretty happy with that. If it doesn't get to $100, however, you get to keep that money from the calls that you sold. So selling covered calls is basically the equivalent of, owning property and taking rent. So it's a really, really great strategy.
Yeah.
In terms
I was just going to add that I am a huge proponent of covered calls. I have a strategy. I totally played up the term on it, but I call it the triple stock profit system. And basically, it's a covered call on dividend stocks that, as the stock grows in value, you're going to get the appreciation on the stock. You're going to get the appreciation from the dividends, and you're also going to get the covered call profits there. So you're literally profiting in 3 different ways. And that's a strategy I use daily on my investment portfolio, not just my trading portfolio. I've got multiple, like I said earlier. In my investment portfolio, that's all that I do is in there.
Yeah, that's a great strategy. You're essentially taking a good idea and triple dipping it. So
yeah,
pretty good stuff.
Yeah. So tell us more about Simpler Trading and how people can work with you over there.
Sure. Thank you. So Simpler Trading was founded about 10 years ago. You probably know the founder, which is John Carter.
Really wait, is he the guy on the movie where he goes through space and time and?
Yeah, he does that on the weekend. But he founded Simpler Trading about a decade ago. Really awesome guy. We have a team of traders there, wide variety of styles. We trade options, futures, and stock. So pretty much something for everybody there. And we're primarily a trading education company. So if you join the group, you'll get to see exactly what we trade. We trade live, so you get to see professional traders trading real money in a live environment. And then we also send out trade alerts, right? So I just did the open this morning in the room. We took a couple of positions, one in FTNT, if any of you guys want to check that out. And so we alert out trades as well. So we do trading education as well as trade alerts and let you know where we're putting our own money every day.
Awesome.
I've written a short guide on how you can use the triple stock profit system. It's the secret weapon every investor needs right now to change your financial future. And you can get it for free by visiting triplestockprofits.com or in the links below. Also, if you want to join a community of traders just like you can get free access to the elite membership that has even more resources to help you trade faster and trade smarter.
Well, if you guys are interested, make sure you head on over to simplertrading.com to learn more about their services. And you can learn more about Sam when you're there. So Sam, this has been a great chat. It doesn't take much to grow a portfolio once you start putting the actions in place. So I really appreciate getting your insights and being able to bounce some ideas off of you. And hopefully it's helped some of the audience out there.
Absolutely. Good to be here, Chris. And if you guys want to learn more about what I do or my system, just feel free to go to simplertrading.com/money, and you can check out my exact system, class, and everything that I'm doing in my accounts.
Very cool. And thank you guys for tuning into today's episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, and enable the notifications. That way you never miss when we have guests just like Sam on, and more tools, tips, and tricks to help you trade faster and trade smarter. And I'll see you on the next episode.